Well, let me just start off by introducing someone who really doesn't need an introduction. Three-time NBA champion, 13 All-Stars, one of the most incredible players to watch in the history of the game. But in addition, an entrepreneur, an investor, a social justice advocate, a parent. Ladies and gentlemen, Dwyane Wade.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank y'all for staying. I know it's late. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you know, we talk about transitions. We talk about learning. You made a big jump from the NBA to being an entrepreneur and all the other things I mentioned. What was the catalyst? What was that moment when you were playing where you were like, it's time for me to think about the next act, and what was behind that?
Well, I want to say probably around when the injuries really started hitting me.
Yeah.
I was about 26, 27 years old. And when you go through major injuries where you have major surgeries, you know, it gives you time to think.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, man, I may not come back as the same player I was. And so I had three knee surgeries and one shoulder surgery, and I was like, okay, I need to start thinking about what's next just in case. Now, luckily, I was able to play 16 years and prolong my next life. But it was around that time, around injuries. And what I did is my agent and I, Henry Thomas, you know, we just always talked about, you know, I was like, Hank, I need a team around me. One thing I did, you know, around that time is I sought out Magic Johnson because I really admired the way he went from basketball into business.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to come to Los Angeles 2 summers in a row and, you know, and go to Magic's office and meet with him and ask any questions I wanted. And, you know, and so Magic kind of helped me formulate in my mind, you know, what I needed to do. And what he pretty much told me is I need to lead, you know, and, you know, I have to have the ideas.
What year was this?
This was around probably 2008, 2009. Like I was coming off the Olympics, you know, and things were going good, but I was preparing for the next phase already, you know. And so I just, you know, me and my agents, you know, we just sat down and we started talking about, you know, building the team and what does that look like. And, you know, it started with my business manager, Lisa Joseph, Metellus, and it kind of went from there. We just wanted to put good people around us that, you know, can share in, you know, whatever vision we could create and see what, you know, what we can accomplish.
Well, you know, it strikes me that you have been good at team construction for a long time. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the dream, I mean, the big three.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was actually taking a risk as well. Like putting that team together took a little bit of an entrepreneurial risk, and I'm going to come back to that. But talk about that decision process and what it was like.
Well, it wasn't an easy decision. You know, I think, you know, now we look back on it, that was 2010.
Yeah.
Jesus, so long ago. But you got a LeBron James who is, you know, in the early stages of his prime, not even touching his prime yet.
Right.
He's still in it. And I'm in my prime. I've already won a championship in Miami. And Chris Bosh is in the early stages in his prime.
Right. And
at this time, no players of that caliber have all decided to play together. Yeah. So one, we're taking a public, you know, it's going to be a lot of scrutiny behind this. So we're taking a risk on our individual images and our brand, but also too on our games. You know, how do you play with, you know, this much talent? And we're not the only players on the team. That's just to name 3.
That's right.
We eventually had Ray Allen. You know, we eventually had, you know, Shane Battier and all these great players. So it was a risk. But I like to say, like, for me, at that time in my life, it was about, you know, it was about being a part of something. I wanted to be a part of something that was special.
Yeah.
Something that we can now, 20 years later and 13 years later, now we can now talk about it and think about how special it was. You know, I had already won a championship, and that was special. But then I started losing, taking a lot of L's, a couple 15-win seasons in there.
Okay.
And so I just wanted my career to be, you know, something that, you know, I can always look back on and say, I did it differently. I did it in many different ways and not just one way. And that was an opportunity that we seized.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of ways, another risk you took was to leave Brand Jordan and to do the way of Wade.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I remember when you did that, and it was a big almost an entrepreneurial bet that you took at that time.
I did. Everybody thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
All the articles was like, "What is he doing?" And I grew up in Chicago. I don't know how many. You got any Chicago?
There's some Chicago folks.
Got some Chicago folks out here, and it was like 2 people.
No, it was like nobody. I thought there were.
But I grew up in the Chicago Bulls era. I mean, I got a chance to watch the 6 rings, and I got a chance to be that, that fan, that kid. I mean, my dream of becoming an NBA player started by watching Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls.
Right.
And so I've always wanted to be a part of Brand Jordan, and I got my opportunity.
Oh, I forgot that. Okay, so that was an even bigger move.
Yeah, it was a big move.
Grew up watching the brand that you were now part of. And okay.
And so it was like a dream come true.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, I was home.
Yeah.
And we did it for about 3 years. And in the midst of it, I'm a learner. I like to learn. And I sat back and I kind of watched, and I was like, man, Jordan is really making a lot of money off us.
Right.
I ain't really making nothing. And I was like, this is an amazing concept. But I just felt like I was just really looking at it. I was looking at that time when I was with Jordan. I started when I was 27. So it was around the time when LeBron came until I was 30. And I just really was looking at, kind of where I was and where I wanted to be and what I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
And the brand is amazing and it's great, but it's Michael Jordan's brand. No matter what Dwyane Wade do, I will never be bigger than Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan's brand.
Yeah.
And so we sought out to, go find our opportunities and how we can build and how we can grow, this whole, in sports you hear legacy is the word that people throw around. Well, we wanted to build legacy and future. And I can honestly say today I'm happy that I made that move because now my son is signing to my shoe brand. And so that's legacy for me.
Yeah.
And so it was a good gamble.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Yeah, give it up. I think this is a room full of entrepreneurs and investors and limited partners, and we're in the business of risk. And so we appreciate that. And I think, your ability and willingness to take risk in forming the team or in moving away from Brand Jordan into Wade, it's actually now it's still part of your DNA, and you're probably bringing that to the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
You've started multiple companies now, everything from Proudly, which is
my wife and I. Yeah.
Okay, which is a baby care company for babies of color, and talk a little bit about how you're approaching the entrepreneurial world, and how your experiences in basketball and taking risk have fed into that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got this risk-taking. I don't know why it's following me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to.
Because it's paid off.
Well, it's paid off, and it makes you feel. It's something about it, right? It's something about these risks. It's something about. It just makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Too, when you're a part of building something, and and if you're lucky enough to create something or been on the ground floor of something, and so. One part of my business that I invest in and that we build is the consumer goods part of it, right? That's the Proudlys of the world.
Yeah.
It's in Target right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My wife and I, really it just came out of a need. The need for, a baby care line in the community of melanated babies. It just really came out of our daughter, Kavia, who's 4 years old. When she was born, we realized at one point we had everything on the shelves in our home, and it wasn't one thing that we can go to. It wasn't one home that we can go to that really worked for Cobb's skin.
Right.
And so we know that other families deal with and will deal with and continue to deal with kind of being lost in the space when they have their babies. And we really care. We might not care about our skin as much, but we really care about our kids, right? We want the best.
Right.
And so we sought out to do that, and we teamed up with a great team in A-Frame, who's done some amazing partnerships to go out and build this brand. And so we're very early in it. We're like a year and a half in. We're thankful for the partnership at Target, but we have a lot more work to do for people to understand what this brand is, and hopefully it can become a staple in our community.
That's fantastic. Well, congrats on that. And the other company, 59th and Prairie. That's a production company.
That's Chicago for the 2 people.
Okay, for the 2 people.
Cloud. That's the street I was born and raised on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And it's a production company. You have a couple of really interesting projects. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we're in a world right now where content is king.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity to retire right away, I don't know how many people watch sports in here, but I was on TNT for 3 years. So I had signed a deal with Warner Media, and a part of my deal outside of the TNT side of it was also a production company. And so we developed 59th and Prairie to be able to tell stories, to be able to, support, obviously great writers, that once again, do not get the opportunity. And we wanted to be able to have them, a part of what we're trying to build. We're trying to find what our ethos is as a company, but we're doing that. We're getting behind. We've been able to executive produce Broadway plays. Ain't No More was a Broadway play that we got behind. We've been able to, executive produce the Redeem Team, a story that I was a part of, and so forth and so on. Like we continue to try to, get content out there, get stories out there, support stories, support writers, support, storytelling. I think everything is about storytelling. That's what I fall in love with. That's why I love music. That's why I love podcasts. That's why I love audiobooks. You see, I said audiobooks and not reading.
You have a favorite?
Right now favorite what?
Audiobook or book?
Well, right now I just finished this morning actually. I was up at 4:30 this morning, and I just finished my audiobook, Win in the Dark.
Okay.
An amazing book with a lot of nuggets in there. And so that's the latest one I just did. But it's all about storytelling for us. And so our production company is, we're very early in it, but we're trying to tell stories, and we're hopefully stories that multiple people and multiple families can relate to.
Okay. Yeah, one theme that it seems to have followed you as well, in addition to risk, is just being a lifelong learner. Yeah. Learning how to play different roles on teams, learning how to start a business, learning how to invest, learning how to think about storytelling. Any advice you can give me and us on just how to stay in that mode? We're living in an age where the future of work is just changing everything, and we're all having to be lifelong learners. It doesn't stop after college.
Yeah.
What did that come from, and how do you keep yourself in that mode?
Well, I think it's, probably my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
You look at your parents, especially as you get older, you realize that you are them.
Yeah.
And so I got to give a lot of credit to them. But I never want to stop learning. Why would I? I know a minuscule what's in this world. I know a very small amount. And there's such a big world out here, and there's so much to learn. And now we're living in a time where information and things are coming to us rapidly. Yeah. Like, it was slow for a while, now it's coming.
Yeah.
And, if you don't stay up on, all the things that's happening in this world, you're left behind and you're lost.
Yeah.
And so, I've always, wanted to learn, especially when I have the right teacher. I've always been like that way in school. If I have the right teacher, then I'm in. It's like a good book, right? And so I never want to stop learning. I would love to learn from, everybody that I come across. I want to be able to take something from them, because me and you, we live two different walks of life. Your experiences is different from my experiences. And so I can learn from that. And I think that's how I learn everything I know in life, is by experiences and talking to others and communicating. And so I never want to stop learning.
Yeah. Well, I know you're an investor in the Utah Jazz. I know you have a relationship with Ryan, former founder of Qualtrics and now co-owner of the Jazz.
Yeah.
Are you getting more into investing now? Are you excited about sort of the world of venture capital or the world of team ownership? Is that something that's a theme for you?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a plan.
Okay.
I retired, and it was just like, luckily I did. I got kicked out of the NBA, and I was like, okay, well, I got 3 rings. Okay, that's good. I got a few businesses. I got a few endorsements. Okay, that's good. But I still felt like I was lost, and I had to find my way. I'm still in a space right now, and this is, kind of my mentality. It's like I'm enjoying the traffic right now. Like, as I find, my purpose, in this next phase of my life. And in the midst of it, I've been lucky enough to be able to invest in the Utah Jazz and invest in Real Salt Lake in Utah. Invest in other things with the Smith family, but also other people as well. And so I'm just in this space where, opportunities are coming, but also too, I'm going out and I'm trying to find opportunities.
Yeah.
At the same time, because I have to teach my kids. I have to teach my family. I'm the first generation to be doing any of these things.
Right.
And so I'm a teacher in my family, and it's on me to leave that footprint. And so I'm trying to go out and learn as much as I can so I can go back and whisper to my family like, yo, so let me tell y'all,
what's up, right?
I got a 21-year-old son. I got to tell him something.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much, man. Yeah. I think, a lot of the work that you're now doing around social justice also sort of reflects your willingness to learn. And, I think there are probably lots of parents in here.
Yeah.
My son just turned 18. I can't believe it. And I'm just thinking, like, what does it mean to be a parent now to an adult? But maybe you could talk a little bit about, learning as it relates to parenting. You've been very vocal about the experiences you've had, and I think we're all learning and appreciating your learning journey in that and trying to apply it to our own lives.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a learning journey. And, I'm not saying, I'm never the person to tell anyone how to parent their own kids. So I don't want nobody to ever get that confused. But I do know that, when people share what they're going through in life, it helps other people. We all go through, a lot of us go through similar things, especially in certain communities. We go through way more similar things than outside of the community as well. So, my wife and I has just taken, a different approach to how we were raised. We were kind of raised where kids, you don't get to say nothing. Yeah. You shut up, you listen.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I turned out okay. But our kids are different. And we decided to raise our kids different. And so we decided to, yes, we do use our mouth to educate our kids on things that they don't know. But we also use our ears to listen to things that we don't know. I think when you actually listen to this next generation coming up, you realize how smart they are. And how I think that our generation this new generation know themselves way better than we know ourselves, even to this day, if you actually listen. And so for us, we've taken that approach, with our kids, of sitting down and treating them like human beings and not treating them like we own them.
Yeah.
One, they got to take care of us in a couple of years. We're getting a little older. We don't want them to be mad at us. But two is just seeing them for who they are. It's not Dwyane Wade the third. It's Zaire Wade. He's his own individual. Right. Zaya is her own individual, and so we're treating them as individuals. And in the midst of that, they have their hopes, their dreams, their wishes. They have things that they want to see and accomplish and do. And this is our job as parents, right? Our job is not just to tell you what to do. Our job is to help you, find, who you are and what you want to do. And so, that's just the way we've decided to go by it, and it works for our kids. Right. We see happiness. We see joy. We see ability to be able to communicate. Me and my son can sit up here and talk like you and I about all things. And that's the kind of relationship that we wanted to have and I wanted to have with my kids. And so I don't know if that's a new school way of parenting. I don't know if people roll their eyes when they be like, nah, that's not how you do it. But that's how we do it. And I just know that there's so many different ways to be, a parent. It's not just one way. And, I've learned that. So
yeah, well, it's a beautiful example and an inspiration. And you mentioned when you made the transition to business from basketball, like finding yourself, like finding that purpose again, and that journey of figuring out what your own authentic purpose is now that you're outside of basketball. And it sounds like you're living it, right? You're living it by example, and you're now actually working with your kids on the same thing. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm in love with my kids. I don't know if everybody can say that. I'm in love with mine. I think, we all have purpose, our purpose in this world. My mom told me when I was a kid, she always used to say, your life is bigger than basketball, because I wanted to be an NBA player. I wanted to be a basketball player. And she always said my life was bigger than that. And I really didn't. I was like, yeah, Mom, whatever. I want to be Jordan. I don't.
Right.
And then I had kids, and my kids started growing older, and and then I got custody of my kids in 2010, and I realized at that point my life is bigger than basketball.
That's right.
It's not just about me, and I had to make my life about them as well. And that's where my joy come in at. Like, I can win a championship, that is amazing. That you got to get ready for the next season. It fades quick.
Yeah.
When my kids win, that stays with me forever.
Oh yeah.
And so, I know where it makes me happy, and so I want to go towards happiness. And what makes me happy is to be able to see, my kids, have all the opportunities in the world, all the resources in the world that they can have, because I know so many kids that do not. I was one of them, and it's a community, and it hasn't changed. Our community still is suffering, and so, my kids get a little head start. I want them to take that head start, and don't forget, to make sure that they pull somebody up and they reach back on their way. But I want them to have that in this world. I want them to have these opportunities to be able to go out and create whatever they want in this world.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful, well said. I would also be remiss if I did not congratulate you on two things. Your announcement that you have been nominated to be a finalist now in the NBA Hall of Fame.
Yes, thank you.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen for sure, obviously. And then more recently, you won the NAACP's highest award, the Presidential Award, for social justice. So congrats on that, too.
Thank you, guys.
You have an organization that is focused on social justice. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how you got to it?
The Social Change Fund, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, myself, all three of our leading ladies in our business that really keep us in check. We all came up with this idea together. We realized that we all have our individual foundations and the things that we do, but we also realized that our collective power together is more powerful if we get together and collectively. And so we a couple years ago, around the George Floyd incident. We came out with the Social Change Fund, and in that fund, we're able to focus on different pillars that is important to not only us, to important to everybody who's a part of it. C.J. McCullough's a part of it, Candace Parker, and so on. We all have things that we're passionate about, and so to be able to once again use our collective power to be able to find resources for something that if it's about voting, hey, let's put our resources together and let's make sure we go out and we try to find, all the people who say they want to put money towards something. Here we go. We out here. We have a fund to be able to do that. We have a foundation for that. And so it's been a challenge, to say the least, but it's been something great that all of us can be a part of, that once again, that is not just about us receiving. It's about us giving. It's about us understanding that it's people that is really out here on the forefront, that's actually doing the hard work, that's doing the real work. And so since we are able to have the resources, let's put the resources to where it should go. And it should go to the ones that got the boots on the ground.
Well, it's well said. Dwyane Wade, I want to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dwyane Wade.